Good evening and welcome to the Monday, March 9th meeting of the Green Worcester Advisory Committee. My name is Mary Niddle and I will chair tonight's meeting. Before we begin, I want to go over the meeting rules and logistical details. Do I need to do that if it's just us? Okay, it's good practice. Tonight's meeting is in a hybrid format, which means we have committee members, city staff, and community members, both in person and online. My name is Mary Niddle, and I will chair tonight's meeting. This is a public meeting, and it is being recorded. The draft meeting minutes are generally available for review and approval at the consequent meeting. Once an agenda item is called, there's a brief discussion of the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff, and then an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to committee discussion and action. The members of the public will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to speak in order to provide enough time for the discussion and keep the meeting on time. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair rather than directly to any of the other speakers or committee members. Each agenda has an opportunity for the public to speak on a matter not on the agenda for a limited amount of time, no more than 2 minutes, at the public participation, community engagement, or standing items to be considered for placement on the next agenda. While an item outside the agenda cannot be discussed by the committee may decide to take a vote to formally place the item for formal discussion on one of the forthcoming agendas. So for today's meeting, we will start with the roll. Mary Niddle here. Evelyn Hurwitz is due at 6 o'clock. Pat Austin. Here. Ted Connor.
Here.
Mary Leovich. Stephen McCauley.
Here.
And Deirdre Murphy. Okay. So move on to item 2, approval of minutes, which were in the packet. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes, or will we entertain a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Anybody opposed? No? Okay, minutes are approved. Public participation and community engagement. I know there's one person online. There are no members of the public in the room right now. No? Okay. So let's move on to, are you the person online? Are you trying to, are you trying to sign in?
Try now.
Can you try it now? I think that's lighting up because your mouse is on it. Is it? No. For the person online, we can't hear you.
I put in chat.
Yeah. Are you able to put anything in the chat? Or you're on the phone?
On the phone.
We'll give it a minute and see if we can figure this out. Yeah. All right, if we're able to hear you, we'll take this out of order, okay? But in the meantime, we're going to move on to updates from the department on the projects that have been ongoing, and I'll turn it over to John O'Dell and Jessica Davis.
Thank you. Through the chair, the first item on our project update list is regarding energy. We have 2 updates in that category. So our Mass CEC on-street electric vehicle charging grant project is still in process. We are hoping to we are working currently with both National Grid and with our vendor and our some local departments just to finalize the 4 selected sites. There's been a fair bit of back and forth on that. but we expect to have that finalized later this week. And then implementation would begin once we have approvals from National Grid, which should be later this spring, with installations over the summer, and then completing everything and having them available this fall. So more to come on that, of course. We'll keep you updated as it goes forward. Regarding the energy savings performance contract, so a vendor has been selected. As you might recall, there was a pretty robust effort to determine. We had a bid selection process. There was a lot of review. We ended up starting a new contract with Honeywell, which is the same vendor we had before. They had an excellent response to our proposal, as well as a good presentation regarding same. So they are now our official selected vendor. We are not under contract yet, but that, of course, is the next piece that we're going into. Looking to front load potentially some solar and/or other related renewable energy work, given the advantage of the ITC credits from the federal government. But those those become much more problematic to obtain after July 4th if we do not move forward quickly. So that's what we're trying to do. So more to come there for sure as well. But the first most challenging hurdle to date, which is actually get a vendor on board, has been completed. So we're excited about that. For the next...
Through the chair.
Oh, sorry.
I have a couple of questions on that. On the chargers, do we know any of the locations yet, through the chair?
The location there's locations near Elm Park. They're right on Russell Street. There's another location potentially off of Seaver Street, which isn't too far, but far enough away that it makes sense to put them there as well. We have a location up near the Claremont Woodland School as the third, and then that one is still being finalized, as is the Seaver one. Those are the two that we are not 100% sure that that's where they'll be. And then we have one up on Vernon Hill, not too far from the park playground area off of Vernon Street. So those are the four projected locations as we sit today.
What was the school? You mentioned a school, near a school.
The Claremont Woodland Schools.
Oh, Claremont Woodland. Okay.
Yeah, up near, not far from Clark.
That's
yeah
my neighborhood. And I wanted, related to that, there used to be one on Hawthorne Street outside what was the Sustainability Hub. I don't know if it still is, but that station seems to have disappeared from ChargePoint. So I'm just curious if we know what the status of that one is.
Through the chair, National Grid is in the process of gifting us that station along with a few others that they have at some of our garages. There has been a few legal hiccups that we've had in terms of the ChargePoint contract transfer. It's not as seamless as you might think, unfortunately, and so until that is finalized, we hope it will be soon. Those are basically being taken off from the PlugShare or any of the other websites. But the expectation is that quite soon they'll be back on.
So, through the chair, why would I think that would be seamless?
I stand corrected.
And I had a related note on energy. Thank you for the update. So that one's offline now, but it will be back.
Through the chair, that's the expectation, yes. In short order is the hope.
Okay, great. The other thing I just want to update, and I'm trying to remember, I attended a webinar a couple weeks ago related to the air-to-air heat pumps that we're pushing. because that's the more mature heat pump technology. It's mini splits and air-to-air. There's also something called air-to-water, and a lot of existing buildings have a fluid distribution system, baseboards, old cast iron radiators. So an air-to-air system is sort of like just, abandoning all of that and starting over. It turns out there is a mature air-to-water system. I can't remember the manufacturer, and it's like an obvious one, but the system itself is called EcoDan, E-C-O-D-A-N. It's been on the market for 10 years in Europe, and this company is just about to roll it out here. And I think their headquarters are in Southborough. So I just wanted to share that because it could be really relevant to the kind of conversions that we're trying to accomplish in all these old buildings. I don't, have anything more than that, but it's not a brand new product. It's road tested in Europe.
Through the chair, just to respond, we have recently also become aware of that opportunity for air-to-water heat exchangers. The disadvantage has always been that they can't raise the temperature up high enough to match what a fossil fuel system has, which is typically 160 to 180 degree water. And if you're only pumping through 120 to 140 degree water, the end of the loop often doesn't get any heat at all. And so the newest models that we've seen are actually able to bring that up to just about 160, 155, 160, which is now sufficient in many cases to supply water, to satisfy the water loop. Our new senior energy services manager, Abby Shute, just went to a training on that very topic, and I believe may have become more familiar with EcoDan, but was specifically looking at the Mitsubishi project, the Mitsubishi version of that, which I don't know if that's the EcoDan one or if it's a different vendor or not. But Mitsubishi now has a product very similarly, or it is in fact that one, and so we're hopeful to start looking into that as part of that ESCO project I mentioned. So we'll have an opportunity to explore that technology. So your timing is spot on. That's exactly what we hope to look into.
Through the chair, I think it is Mitsubishi, actually. That was in my head, but I wasn't certain. I think it is actually that product. And I think the upper limit, it had impressive specs. Upper limit, I think, was 158, so very close to what you're looking for. Also capable of operating down to like minus 20 Fahrenheit, and without resistance backup all the way down to minus 5, I think it was. It looked like it was going to work pretty well in most conditions. And that 160 to 180, a lot of these older systems, because I've designed and built heating systems, if you have an old system with cast iron radiators that was built in a house with no insulation, and then the house is properly insulated, you can run that system at 130 or 140 and it'll work just fine. And the lower you run it, the more efficient things are. So I wouldn't rule it out. In some situations, it might be adequate even if it doesn't hit 160 or 180.
I have a question. The energy savings performance contract, that's primarily serving municipal buildings? Is it also school buildings? Can you give us an example of where the priorities are on the new contract for that?
Through the chair, yes. So it's all municipal buildings, so that includes city and school facilities. The audit will include all of them, both occupied and unoccupied, though the focus obviously will be on the larger, more occupied facilities. But we'll do a review of all of that. That energy audit then will allow us to, the Honeywell will provide a suite of potential measures that we could implement. And then based on that, we will pick a portfolio of measures based on capital needs, payback, financial finance availability, and then we'll implement that with the understanding that we may do, that might be the first phase 1, and then 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we might do a phase 2, and then a phase 3, et cetera, all based on that original investment grade audit that we hope to undertake over the next several months.
Thank you. Okay.
So moving on to the resilience section of that, I'll turn this over to Jesse.
Thanks, John. I did want to say that Mary Leovich emailed and said she was the one that called in and is trying to figure out her sound. So I emailed her that we can't hear her, and I don't know if she can hear us. So just so you know, that's the phone number online. Okay, so for the resiliency updates. Okay, so first one is the Miyawaki Forest maintenance. We just posted the bid for a new contractor to start maintenance as soon as possible. We're very excited to get started again. The forests are going to be waking up. Spring is coming. It's very exciting. So this bid will be for 2 years maintenance to have some continuity a little bit more after learning a lot from our first year of maintenance. And we think that it seems from the reports we got from Reimagine Roots, which was the last contractor we had, that Plumley still needs a bit more work of more infill planting, but that McGrath is in really good shape and could possibly be almost self-sustaining within a year or so. Still needs some litter collection and some small work, but not a lot. So this will be a 2-year contract, and the bid period ends on March 25th. So, we're looking for smaller companies that are really qualified in this. I guess it doesn't have to be a smaller company. I mean, a company that's qualified in this specific care, because it's not the same as some typical landscaping contractors that you would see. So if you know any companies that are qualified that might be interested, just send them to the city website to submit a bid, and we'll get started hopefully in April. So the next item is the Columbus Park Elementary School Cool Pocket. So we've talked about this project a good amount. I think you all are familiar with it. So the main update is that the consultants, BSC is our consultant, they have finished their current designs and have submitted an application to Conservation Commission. That application and permit is required to be able to apply for funding. We need to have permits that are approved. So we intend to apply for funding in this next cycle, and depending on how much we receive, we would hope to be able to build it not this summer, next summer, and depending on the amount, it might be a phased approach of how much we can build per year. But if we are awarded funding, we will likely start construction next summer, 27. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Did you want me to say that? So the grant that we're intending to apply for is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant, which was the grant that we got for the initial start of this project. So this would be the implementation grant, whereas we had the planning design grant for this, the previous phase.
Through the chair, sorry, one question.
Go ahead.
Maybe you said this, but what's the timeline of the grant, actually?
So the applications are due this spring, and then you find out in the summer if you are awarded, if you were selected. So.
That's great.
So the next one is the Rain Gardens project. So we've also talked about this a good amount, but basically we're getting excited again to see these planting projects getting close to going live. So we've been meeting with Reimagine Roots and BSC, and they've designed and showed us these like 3D, you can like scroll around and see what the trees and the plants are gonna look like in these spaces. And they have these websites with plant palettes, so you can see like the different colored plants and, pollinator plants, and which ones are really effective at absorbing water, and the different features in each space have been thoroughly considered, and the planting will be starting soon. We don't have the schedule yet, but soon. And each space has kind of its own features and goals that have been determined over the last year in planning, and also along with stakeholders and partner feedback. That's that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, one other question through the chair. Who's the contractor on that, or who's providing these, like, imagery and the assets?
So it's BSC and Reimagine Roots again.
And remeasurements, cool.
What does BSC stand for? Sorry.
Build, support, community.
Oh, okay. Could be.
That could be it.
That's all right.
It's an engineering firm, isn't it? BSC Group, that's an engineering company.
Oh, building, supporting, and connecting. That's close. But we've worked with them on multiple kind of nature-based projects in the past.
That's great.
All right, and then the last update that I have is about the pollinator garden at the library, the main library branch. If you've been there in the past couple of years on the parking lot side, you'd see when you walk into the library, there's some garden space now, and it looks really nice. And we hired Leo Da Silva. His company is Rewild, and you may be familiar with him. He plays a big part in the Worcester Native Plant Initiative group. And he wrote a great report of the work that he's done over the last year, and we're going to post that publicly on the city website so you can learn about that project. And we also just contracted with him again for another year of his service of maintaining and improving those pollinator gardens there. It's a great space to have a garden. It's a really great educational opportunity. People are walking in there every day, and we love that it's so close to the Milwaukee Forest, thinking about connecting these green spaces and having a pollinator corridor. We've talked about that for years, of where can we build those in the city. So it's cool to see that kind of thing happening. And we'll let you know when the report is posted if you're curious about learning more about it.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. So moving on to the Lakes and Ponds program, first item was we had the State of the Lakes event about a week and a half ago. Went very well attended. I didn't get the exact count, but somewhere north of 50 people showed up. We had a number of tables set up as well to learn more about some of the associated services that our water department and other groups are offering related to our lakes and ponds. The event itself was great. Katie Liming did her normal excellent job. She keeps setting the bar very, very high. So I say normal excellent job as if it wasn't excellent, but it was impressive. A lot of work. She and Nick Pagan, who is our environmental analyst, put together a great presentation. It focused on the 4 lakes that we use for have recreational uses: Indian Lake, Coes Pond, Bell Pond, and Lake Quinsigamond. There were ratings for each of them. I believe Bell Pond was rated good, or excellent rather, and Coes and Lake Quinsigamond were rated good, and Indian Lake, I forget what that was rated, fair, I believe. Yeah. But it was good information. We also had someone from Worcester State present a little bit about some of the other water bodies that feed from the Tatnick watershed area adjacent to Coes Pond. So we had some feedback there as well. So altogether, it was a very informative. We encourage folks to go next year as well. I should mention too, the event was catered. The folks from Quinsigamond Culinary School provided food for about 500. Unfortunately, there were only about 50 some of us there. But the food, those of us who were able to eat to our heart's content can speak to the fact that it was very, very tasty. And so want to give them a shout out for their excellent service. Moving on to the Cyanobacteria Monitoring Collaborative Data Summit. That's, some people call that the mini State of the Lakes. It's this coming April 2nd, which is a Thursday. It will basically talk all about specifically the cyanobacteria collaborative, what was learned, and many of these things were also noted at the State of the Lakes, but specifically regarding cyanobacteria blooms, what's in place for next year and what we anticipate for next year, and getting volunteers trained so that they can participate in the program. We seem to be getting a few more volunteers every year. There's a core group, but we get a bunch of new faces every year, which is great. And so this is part of the big opportunity to learn about it and to get trained to participate in providing basically citizen science, which is super. And then the last item is the discounted rain barrel sale. We get our rain barrels from.
Excuse us a second. Did you?
Through the chair, you might have said the location on the WCMC Summit.
The cyanobacteria.
Is that the senior center?
Senior Center.
It's at the senior center,
It
yes.
is at the senior center, okay.
Yep. And so the discounted rain barrel sale, we get our barrels from the Great American Rain Barrel Company, cleverly named. Please order by May 2nd if you can. These barrels are great if you are interested in whether it's a vegetable garden or a flower garden, or if you want to start your own pollinator garden. These are great ways to capture some of the runoff from your gutters and then use that water and target that water for like I said, your flowers or vegetables accordingly. So the prices are about as good as you can get. I don't know what this year exactly. Last year, I believe, was $85 a barrel, so which is these are very well made. Should last you quite some time. So we encourage folks to order, as I mentioned, by Saturday, May 2nd. Okay, and then moving on to green education, I'll turn that back over to Jessie.
Great. Thanks, John. So this is an exciting update on the WPI partnership that Evelyn and Pat really helped so much with when the Education Task Force was in place, contributed a lot to this development, and it's going great. So we have 5 or 6 teachers signed up from Worcester Public Schools that are attending these kind of night courses to design lesson plans based on sustainability and resilience data that the city has. Luba went and presented to their class and shared the data sets and answered questions, and there was a lot of interest. So now the teachers are designing their lesson plans and we'll be testing them out in May. And let me see the notes. Is there anything else? So we'll be able to, report back then, but there's 2 middle school teachers, 2 high school teachers, and then a curriculum specialist from various schools choosing different projects that they're interested in to include in their classes.
I have a question through the chair. Do you know what data sets they're being made available?
I can look that up. I do not know off the top of my head, but I do have a description of the syllabus here. Did you have the same question, Evelyn? Okay, let me just see. Unless you would know the answer off the top of your head. Okay.
All I can tell you is that they're all city-based data, which is the whole premise of this, is that we're using local data so that we can get both the teachers and the kids to hopefully be more excited about the data that they actually might have in their own neighborhood or nearby or something like that.
Through the chair, I think we originally talked about heat island data.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely one of the data
That was one of the data sets I know we discussed.
Yeah, Green Worcester Plan data, what's the data review, Worcester data review. I'll look back at Luba's presentation real quick. You might have to go to the next item while I try to find that.
That's fine. You can report back later even if
Okay.
that's better. But
I'll see if I can find it real quick though, if I can, yeah.
The next item is the Resilience Roots Grant Project. So this is a separate grant that we are, among others, partnering with the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. They are playing point on this. We are in support of them, along with the Worcester Public Schools, the Harvard Forests I'm going to mess up their name. Shoot. But they manage the forest out, the Harvard Forest out in Western Mass. And basically the grant is to focus on teaching the students at the high school, at the tech high school, who are in the environmental studies, are learning about some of the different kinds of forests that are out there, how to maintain them, how to support them, what the difference is between a small urban forest like a Miyawaki forest versus a larger forest like out in, in Western Mass, as I referenced. We are also looking, having them do field trips on this, so they're actually getting out there and learning about it. But there's been presentations as well, and so this grant helps cover the cost for transportation and for speakers and everything else that needs to go with that. The kids seem pretty excited to date about this program, so we're looking forward to really diving into it with over this semester and into next year as well in particular. So more to come as that sort of is now just getting underway, but it's a neat additional related item that we're collaborating with the schools, particularly in this case Tech High School, and to support their work.
I found the presentation. So perfect timing. So what Luba did was she presented potential themes and data sets that we have today, so they would have a starting point and they could pick based on their interests in their class which phenomenon they're interested in for these lesson plans. So the first one was urban lakes and ponds water quality impacts, so all of the reports that Nick and Katie have put together on their research. So chlorophyll, water visibility data, cyanobacteria, those are some of the topics. Then the next one was urban heat islands, like you said, Evelyn. We have maps, metadata, reports, some of our heat study, those of you who've been around a long time, that heat study we did a couple years ago that has that map viewer, the little squares that are red and green, and they're the different scenarios for what would happen if we greened a certain percentage of the city. So that they have access to that data, tree canopy data, then energy, renewable energy production, building energy use, EV charging stations, data for solar projects, and detailed data on the city's 90-plus buildings from previous ESCO projects. So that was the list of potential themes, and then we could provide to them what they were wanted to include in their lesson plans.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And great that these teachers are interested enough that they're doing this at night. I mean, being a teacher is really, I assume, difficult, taxing job, and to want to take on something new like this is really awesome to see that interest in the city, and hopefully it spreads, you know, the lessons go well and the kids are interested. It would be great, you know, that's the goal, that this is the start of it.
Yeah, that's great.
So moving on to the Zero Waste Program update. The update is pretty short. We are reviewing, we've just received, recently received the first draft chapters that are being reviewed. There is obviously a lot of work that goes into that, and that is ongoing. We hope to have a draft final in April as it stands right now. The key, obviously, is we want to present something that we think is going to have real relevance, both in the near term and down the road. So we're I know there's a need to go quickly on this. There's a lot of folks who are talking about it and want to make sure that this plan does what we hope it will do. And so we are, as much as we want to go fast, we're focusing on making sure we get it right. So I figure an extra week or two, if that's what it takes to do that, that's what it will take. But right now, we're looking at mid-April-ish or so to have that final draft available. And obviously, we'll be sharing that with the committee once able to. And then the last couple of items I want to talk about relate to staffing. The first is our cyanobacteria monitoring intern. Applications are due Friday, March 13th, so that's this coming Friday. It's posted on our website. If you know anybody who might want to apply, it's a part-time position, about 15 to 18 hours a week. We've had some fantastic partnerships with the interns in the past. In fact, one of them is now working in our water department, so you never know. So it's, like I said, if you know of anyone, please encourage them to apply. And then we have 2 open positions right now with in our department. Our sustainability coordinator position we have selected a candidate. We're hoping to get that candidate on board, that they agree to coming on board, and that they will do so in the near future. Ideally at the beginning of April, so that's encouraging. And then we have our sustainability GIS analyst, who, I think I said earlier, sustainability coordinator is the zero waste coordinator, sorry. The zero waste coordinator is the one who is a tentative onboarding soon. And the sustainability and GIS analyst, we just recently had, it's ongoing, people can still apply, but we had our first cutoff, if you will, in terms of applications. There were 150 of them. And so we're reviewing them now in partnership with our Human Resource Department. That may take a little bit, but once we get through that, in terms of making sure we only review folks who meet the minimum qualifications, we will then start reviewing that, and hopefully we'll have good news in terms of status at our next meeting. But moving forward.
That's great.
And I believe that's the last update we have.
Any questions on the updates? No? All right, so we can move on to the standing items. The first of which are items for consideration for future agendas. I've got a fresh piece of paper here. Has anybody got anything, any burning thoughts they would like to hear more about? So, and I think one of our future agenda items will be the update, the report. Yep. So, Ted?
Through the chair, that's when we were talking about the annual report update. So my understanding is that we're going to see a draft before the next meeting, but is the goal to approve it in the next meeting, or we wanted to put it out in April, didn't we?
Through the chair, we are bound, in fact, by the receiving the data in a timely way. A lot of the utility data comes in about 3 months later. So we expect to get that data this month, and if that is the case, we will be able then to have a draft for folks before our next meeting, as you just suggested. I hedge only because if we don't get the data, that may get pushed out. But that's the intent, is to do just as you described, so that you'll have, we can talk about the draft annual report as well as the letter that will accompany that.
Through the chair, I guess the idea was to sort of do it for Earth Day, but I guess that's not critical if we can't, right?
Through the chair, that's the goal, yes. But obviously, if we can't do it right, we'll delay it until we can.
Thank you. Any other items? That's a biggie. It will take a lot of time with that. Okay, and of course, if something else comes up in the meantime, we can take it into consideration as well. So upcoming events and programs not specifically organized by the Department of Sustainability and Resilience are, turn it over to you.
Yes, as you can see here, we have, there are 4 items. The first is called the Vernon Connected upcoming event with the Walking Through the Past, Present, and Future with Jeff Speck. Jeff Speck is connected with our Vision Zero plan for our Department of Transportation and Mobility. And that is coming up on March 19th, and then a separate Remembering and Imagining of Vernon Connected on March 25th. So encourage anyone who is into transportation, safety. These are the kinds of things that will be the topic here for the area up on Vernon. So I would encourage you to attend, and additional information can be found at that website, Vernon Connected. The Green Hill Park Community Garden Beds. So you may have seen in the newspaper there are several dozen raised beds that have been created over at Green Hill Park that are designed to be community garden beds. We're taking applications through April 3rd for those. So if you want to participate in growing your own food, but don't have space on your own property, for example, but would love to do it, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of that. We have many community gardens throughout the city. This will be another opportunity, but there are, like I said, dozens of these raised beds, so they'll be perfect for planting your veggies if so inclined and interested. So encourage you to apply for your space soon.
Question through the chair. Is there a running water source there at the raised beds? I assume there is. Yeah.
Through the chair, there is, yes. Yeah, our Parks Department spearheaded this, and so there should be not only running water, but also what we find, and not only a well-defined space, which is what the city is going to be providing, but I would encourage folks that if you're looking for people with shared interests, who, if you're interested in this, you will meet some other very passionate gardeners as well. You can learn a lot. So it's a great place to share gardening ideas and to build connection.
And John, if you don't mind me adding, and it's also, this is a really cool project because they actually have some beds that are accessible for people who use mobility devices. There's 8 of them, and that's not typical at a lot of these community gardens, so that's a really great feature of this one. And then there's the storage shed and water spigots and hoses and benches. It's really set up really well. I've only seen pictures, I haven't gone up there yet, but 124 raised beds, which is a larger space than I expected, so I want to go up and check it out. But it seems awesome from the pictures. Yeah, I really hope people apply and take advantage of that new space.
Yeah, that's amazing. Through the chair, I had understood at one time that the REC was coordinating or managing a lot of the community gardens in the city. Is that still the case, and are they managing this one?
Through the chair, they are. I believe they manage some 60 community gardens. We'll have to check on whether they are going to be affiliated with this one or not. I don't know.
Through the chair, do we know the size of the beds? Like the, dimensions? Yeah.
The garden plots are open for residents on first-come, first-served basis. Okay, you have to apply. Plot sizes are 10 feet by 7 feet, 1 foot height.
So 7 by 10.
7,
Okay.
10. Oh, then there's, okay, sorry. There's a variety of sizes. Then 8 by 4 at 2 feet, 6 by 4, 2 feet, 6 by 4, ADA accessible. So there's various sizes.
And if someone wanted more than one, could they get that? I mean, it depends what the demand is, I guess.
I would assume it depends on the demand.
Yeah.
I also haven't read the full application, so I'm not sure if it limits. I can skim it, or you can check it out later, too. I can try to find that answer if it's on the application. I'm not sure if
Okay.
you can apply for multiple. Not sure, yeah.
Thanks.
So moving on to our Arbor Day celebration. So that is a yearly event spearheaded by our Parks Department. This year it's planned to be Friday, April 24th at 10 a.m. I had a note to find out where this was going to be, and I neglected to do that. So I will have to make sure I share that with you separately. But I do know it's on the 24th of April, so there's plenty of time to mark it on your calendars. I'm sure it's on our website. I just apologize, I don't have that, didn't check that myself.
Through the chair, I think it's often at University Park, at least in recent years,
It could be, but
but they may have switched that. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know for sure. And then the last item is our UMass Prevention Research Center's Neighborhood Connect. And basically, it's a program for better walking, biking, and rolling. We encourage folks to go to the website and learn more about that event as well.
Through the chair, I have another event to mention. On Saturday, April 11th, there's going to be a Worcester County Climate Summit from 9:30 to 3 p.m. at the Colonial Hotel in Gardner. And this is organized by Mass Audubon and the Greater Worcester Community Foundation. I'm just going to read you the little description. It's probably the best way to describe it. Climate activists from all 60 towns and cities in Worcester County are invited to attend. This event will bring people together to promote countywide capacity and collaboration on climate action. It's the first step on the path to creating a Worcester County climate collaborative to increase resilience to climate impacts, restore natural habitats, and mobilize diverse communities for collaborative climate action. They'll be joined by Massachusetts' first ever climate chief, Melissa Hoffer, as the keynote. She's a national leader in climate action. I know she was at one of the recent events in the last year, also at the Blackstone Center. So register today. Okay.
Does anybody have any other items to add to that
I do.
list of events? Ted does.
I do, through the chair. I've got a few more to mention. There's 2 tree symposia coming up at Tower Hill. Sunday, March 15th, 9 to 4:30. And these are at Tower Hill. They're having a nut tree symposium. And then on Friday, April 17th, there's an urban tree symposium from 9 to 4. I don't know much more about that, but these are things that involve a tuition, so they're not free events. But I guess they've got a lot of, knowledgeable people that are going to teach trees all day up at Tower Hill. So those look pretty interesting. Friday through Sunday, March 20th to the 22nd, the New England Sustainability Energy Association has its annual Building Energy Boston conference in Boston. This is the Sustainable Buildings conference that they do. A lot of good information. And they were the source of that webinar that I mentioned at the beginning. I guess they're going to probably talk about that weekend too. But And then the other thing, and again, I should know the date, and I don't, but it's time for the annual Earth Day cleanups, which will be in late April, and I'm sure Jesse will find that before I can get my mic turned off. The other things I mentioned, I sent those emails earlier, so I'm sorry, do I have, yeah, well, I guess the information I shared is enough for now, the locations and the times, and we have links that can go in the minutes, I guess, if you want.
Yes, I received those, Ted, so we can add them to the minutes, yeah. I did receive those in the email, so we can add them to the minutes. And also, if they're far enough out, events that you know about, they can also be considered for adding to our newsletter. These ones are too close, but we send the newsletter the week before the GWAC meetings. So if you have any like upcoming events, we just need a couple weeks notice, and then we can consider putting it in the newsletter too. They won't all necessarily be able to be included, but if you want something to be considered, you can just let us know.
Okay. So no further standing items?
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn in record time. One motion to adjourn, a second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? So our next meeting is April 13th. And we look forward to seeing you all at that time. And thank you very much.